Well, the return of Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci is no doubt huge for the Boston Bruins. I'm going to argue on today's episode that there are two other players who are as, if not more important to the team's success this season than those two centers, and they are Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak. Let's get into it, shall we?
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Wednesday, September 7th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so if you're an Apple user, Spotify, whatever podcast app you use, please open up your phone, hit that subscribe button. Each new episode will be automatically added to your feeds for you to download, listen, and enjoy. Pro tip as well, the Locked On Boston Bruins YouTube channel is ready and waiting for you to subscribe. You can get bonus breaking news content over there. And once the season begins, there will be immediate reaction to each and every regular season game. If you're on social media, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins on both Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. So the regular season, training camp is indeed just around the corner. The Bruins announcing this morning that the captain's practice will be open to the media on Monday, September 12th, Tuesday, September 13th, Friday, September 16th, and Monday, September 19th. The Bruins' captain's practice is, of course, some informal skates put on by Bruins leadership, namely Patrice Bergeron, as guys begin to shake off that rust and prepare for training camp, which will likely begin, as early as Tuesday, September 20th, likely Wednesday or Thursday of that week. So something very much to look forward to. I mentioned off the top that I believe David Pastrnak and Taylor Hall are massively important to any success that the Bruins achieve this season. As we know, David Pastrnak can become an unrestricted free agent at the end of this current season, and there is no contract extension yet in place. Kevin Allen, who is the former president of the Hockey Writers Association, former national columnist for USA Today. He's a Hockey Hall of Fame writer. He posted this about David Pastrnak last evening. He wrote, "He has scored 34 or more goals in 5 of the past 6 seasons. At age 26, Pastrnak is key to the Bruins this season and beyond. Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron are on the back nine of their careers. It's critical to re-sign Pastrnak. He will be an unrestricted free agent next summer. Getting Pastrnak signed doesn't feel like a slam dunk. Far from it. The Bruins would get plenty for Pastrnak if they have to move him, but that's not their objective." Again, this was posted on Hockey Buzz. I believe Kevin Allen also writes for Detroit Hockey Now, so not, the highest of platforms at the moment for the former PHWA president, but he still has prominence because of his former role, and I believe he's now serves as secretary of the PHWA or something like that. So take it with, perhaps 1 or 2 grains of salt that he doesn't feel like it's a slam dunk that Pastrnak will get signed. Far from it, even, he says. It's concerning that he doesn't have a contract extension. We don't want this hanging over the Bruins as training camp gets underway. God forbid, as regular season games get underway. The Bruins need to sign David Pastrnak. And there's been some reports, rumors that perhaps he's a bit concerned about the future of the team, who he might play center or who might play center for him beyond this season if it's a one and done for Bergeron and Krejci, and that's fair. That's fair to wonder, fair to ask. A lot of us have those questions as well. I've said on the podcast before that if he's not signed by the trade deadline, it's a really tough thing to risk losing him for nothing. If you can make a hockey deal, say with a team like the New York Rangers, you have some young talent that could perhaps be had for an established veteran like David Pastrnak. Not ideal, not preferred, but it's better than losing him for nothing. My sense is that a deal will get done. Again, these captains' practices beginning as early as next week. Hopefully he's in attendance and he and his representatives are able to sit down with Don Sweeney and get a deal done. So Pastrnak is key to the Bruins' success this season because we want him signed, we want him happy, we want him scoring at the 32 goals in the 2022 portion of last season coming into this season and consistently pushing for 40, 50 goals, getting back into contention for the Rocket Richard Trophy as the league's top scorer, which I think he can very well be part of that race this season. And the Bruins need that from him. There's very little scoring on the right side. I talked yesterday about Fabian Lysell maybe getting a shot. You have Jake DeBrusk, who's not a natural right-hand shot. Craig Smith, who's been involved in trade talks. The Bruins just straight up need a huge season from David Pastrnak. They need him to stay healthy. And if he's looking for 8 years, $80+ million, then he needs to back that up with one of the best seasons of his career, and hopefully it's mutually beneficial for both sides. He gets the deal he wants, the Bruins get the success that they're after. I think Taylor Hall will play a big role in helping Pastrnak get there. We're going to talk about him here in a moment, but first, a quick word about Built Bar. If you haven't tried their puffs yet, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. Let me introduce you to a new flavor, Cookie Dough Chunk Puffs. They have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. But they're also good for you, if you can believe it. 160 calories, 15 grams of protein, and right now you can run to Built.com to snag a box for you and the family. It's the perfect treat, and you can find a really good hiding place to hoard them for yourself if you don't want to share. What's great about Built Bars is that they're made with a collagen protein that your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. You can eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love these new cookie dough chunk puffs. Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. Ditch the calories, the fat, the sugar, and grab yourself a Built Bar. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKEDON15, and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off. LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. had a request on the YouTube channel to have Bessie make an appearance. Right now she is napping behind me. You can see her there on the couch, doing well, and we love her to bits here at the McLaren household. Now, the Boston Bruins currently have one player on the roster who has won a Hart Trophy as the league's most valuable player, and that is Taylor Hall. Back in 2018, he helped the New Jersey Devils to a surprising playoff spot, recording 39 goals and 54 assists for 93 points in 76 games. It was the first time that he had qualified for the postseason. Devils only played 5 games, but he scored 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points in 5 games. Last season was the closest that he's come to touching that kind of production. 20 goals, 41 assists for 61 points in 81 games. We know that there could be another level to Taylor Hall's game. Sure, he's not as young as he used to be. He's 30 now, going to be 31 in November. And, 4 or 5 years removed from that MVP season. But we also know that he put up very good numbers playing alongside David Krejci in their limited time together in 2020-2021. In 16 games for the Bruins down the stretch after being acquired from the Buffalo Sabres, Taylor Hall scored 8 goals and added 6 assists. And the Bruins outscored teams 14-1 at 5-on-5 when Krejci and Hall played together that season. That's a 40-goal pace over a full season. That would be a new career high for Taylor Hall. He's actually only hit 30 goals once in his career. 2 27-goal seasons with the Oilers, another 26-goal season. I think he can push for 30 this season playing alongside David Krejci and David Pastrnak. Last season, he found success playing with Erik Haula and David Pastrnak. But I think that, like I said, last season, it didn't really matter who was playing center on that line. With Hall and Pastrnak driving play, Hall took on more of a playmaker role and was instrumental in helping Pastrnak score those 32 goals in the back half of the season. 41 assists. Krejci is a far better playmaker than Erik Haula, and he should put both Pastrnak and Hall in positions to score much more often than did Erik Haula. If that line connects, if that line hits, forget it being one of the best second lines in the NHL. It will likely be Boston's first line to begin the season and could be one of the more productive lines around the NHL. Yes, David Krejci, 36, took a year off from NHL action, but he's still very, very good, as we saw at the World Championships. He can set up David Pastrnak. He can find him and help create those opportunities. If Pasta's drawing most of the defensive attention, he can turn his gaze to Taylor Hall, who's a very, I don't want to say prolific scorer, but who is very talented in his own right and who could put the puck in the back of the net. We know what we're getting from Patrice Bergeron. We know what we're going to get from Brad Marchand when he returns from injury. If Jake DeBrusk is still on that line, hopefully he continues to be a consistent presence, and those two can set him up to succeed. If they're drawing the top defensive assignments, you put Hall, Krejci, Pasta against second or third pairs, and you could really start to see some pretty good offensive numbers coming from these guys. And quite simply, they need them to play like a top line in order to succeed. One of the biggest knocks on the Bruins has been lack of secondary scoring, lack of depth scoring. Well, you should have two top lines here, so secondary scoring should not be an issue. Once we get into the third and fourth lines, getting that production from the bottom six, that's what could put you over the edge as a Stanley Cup contender. But in terms of being a playoff team, successful in the regular season, if those two lines are going, sub Zacha in, Pavel Zacha in for Marchand to begin the season, should still be all right. And you have the makings of perhaps something pretty special here in Boston this season. But Taylor Hall needs to probably score a bit more than he did last season. Maybe push for 70 points. Pastrnak, 40 goals. And the Bruins could really be cooking here in 2021. 2022, 2023. Getting my dates mixed up here. Let me know what you think. Who is most important to the Bruins' success this season? I'm picking Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak. And we'll see how that plays out here in the coming weeks and months. Before we get to some news and notes from around the NHL and Keith Kincaid's sick new mask for the Boston Bruins, I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. I talked last week about, or someone had asked me a question about Boston's third goalie and what happens if one of Swayman or Allmark is injured. And Keith Kincaid, who signed a one-year, two-way contract, would probably be the next man up. And I kind of hope he gets some time in the NHL this season just so that his new mask can get some love. Kincaid paying homage to Happy Gilmore on one side of his helmet with a prominent Bruins logo on the other. The popular Adam Sandler movie revolves around a character who's a failed hockey player who wears an old school Bruins jersey while on the golf course. It's the jersey from the 90s with Pooh Bear on the shoulders. That's the one that I have. And Kincaid said, easily my favorite mask, and I can't wait to rock it. He'll likely see a lot of time in Providence this season, but chance he'll get some NHL action, and that would be pretty cool to see. Happy Gilmore, which was one of my favorite movies, certainly as a teen, still holds up, hilarious, and I'm excited to see that in action this season in the NHL or AHL. Some questions out of Vancouver as to whether the Canucks can afford to keep JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, and Bo Horvat. Horvat becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. I've said that he would be a perfect center for the Boston Bruins. Whether or not they can sign him next season, or make a trade for him at some point, remains to be seen, but he's a guy that I certainly would love to see in black and gold. And if you're betting on the Hart Trophy winners this season, your top 10 favorites are Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, Kirill Kaprizov, Cale Makar, Nikita Kucherov, Igor Shesterkin, Alexander Barkov, and Sidney Crosby. Some long shot bets include Johnny Gaudreau, Jack Hughes, Jason Robertson. No Bruins near the top of the list, but it's kind of conducive to how the Bruins are set up right now. It would take a huge season from a David Pastrnak, or yeah, he's probably the guy with the biggest shot right now. It would take a 50, 60 goal season like Austin Matthews put up last year to get there, and hopefully it happens. It's a long shot, but put some money on him if you think it is possible. So, captain's practices kicking off next week. Prospects Challenge coming up next weekend. Training camp a couple weeks away. First exhibition game on September 24th. We're getting closer. Still 3 episodes per week next week, and then we'll be back to 5 shows a week, Monday to Friday, beginning September 19th for the unofficial kickoff of the 4th season of Locked On Boston Bruins. Thank you so much for being part of it. Thank you for joining me here on the podcast today, and I hope you're taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other. We'll talk to you again Friday here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.